My God, for a company that has been surrounded by controversy throughout 2024 is nearly crumbling to the ground with Tencent eyeing an acquisition of the company, or possibly another company, I suppose. This is as bad as it gets for Ubisoft, and now they have many developers going on strike upset with the return to office orders that Ubisoft has recently implemented. And they even have some other studios within Europe going on strike as well in solidarity with the French home office at Ubisoft. So yeah, it's just been total madness at this company, and it is non-stop, and it continues to get so much worse. It's not just Assassin's Creed Shadows, it's not just Star Wars Outlaws, it's everywhere, with all of their games and all of their offices and developers. But the report coming from GamesIndustry.biz outlines that Ubisoft Milan joins Ubisoft France strike over return to office. It's not economically sustainable and unfair human level, says Italian union Fiamma-Sigil, which is in reference to the return to office order that has been implemented by Ubisoft recently. The report mentions that Milan has called for a one-day strike in solidarity with Ubisoft France. As reported by Deadline, the Milan branch of the Fiamma-Sigil union expressed concern over the firm's return to office policy. It is unthinkable that a young person who lives in another region, or in any case far from our territory, could spend 3 days a week in Milan, turning their existence upside down, said the union representative. It is not economically sustainable and unfair on a human level, and according to Insider Gaming, several Ubisoft Milan employees are set to leave the studio as a result. It's also noted that sources said some were leaving to join former creative director David Soliani's new studio Day for Night. And then earlier this week, over 700 Ubisoft France employees participated in a 3-day strike in response to a mandate that would require staff to be in office for at least 3 days per week. The consequence of this decision will be the loss of our colleagues' jobs, the disorganization of many game projects, I mean, that's kind of already been going on for a while now with Ubisoft, and the drastic increase in psychological risk for those who remain, said a rep for the French Game Workers Union. And look, I'm just going to say the timing of all this probably as bad as it could get, not just for Ubisoft, but also these employees. Ubisoft employs over 20,000, and if Ubisoft goes under, most of those jobs, I imagine, are going to be gone. It's just one of those problems with this company that they're really struggling to grapple with. They hired so many employees, so many rely on this company. There's so many studios all over the world. I think it's over 40, and that's one reason why other companies do not want to take on the baggage of Ubisoft, because they know that all this negative publicity will hit them if they end up having to fire all these developers, or many of them, and shut down various studios. But Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, he has many Ubisoft sources. He said in his own report about this, and an internal announcement, it was said that a narrative director, senior 3D artist, associate lead engine programmer, expert technical animator, concept artist, technical game designer, senior quest designer would all be leaving the Milan studio in the coming days. And it was also said the reason why people are upset with the return to office mandate has been particularly tricky because of the city's high cost of living, and because of the COVID pandemic, many of these employees went to, I guess, outside areas which are much cheaper, and now they're being forced to move back to Milan, which is very expensive. So yeah, just a nightmarish situation for Ubisoft and also many of the developers that are upset with this company's management. But we did see Assassin's Creed finally come back to Steam in the form of Assassin's Creed Mirage, and like with the reviews that we saw at launch, it kind of has that mostly positive rating of about a 70%, which is alright. In terms of how the game has been performing, we can go to SteamDB and find that estimates have under or around 50,000 players, and it's just doing all right. But hey, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft, they had to return to Steam. Epic Game Store was not working, and this company is tumbling to the ground. They need this game on a massive platform like Steam, and I said this in the last couple of videos I've talked about Ubisoft. Everybody eventually comes crawling back to Gabe. But with Assassin's Creed Shadows, the controversial game that's going to be setting place in feudal Japan in early 2025 in a stacked month of February, we have seen some recent rumors which have indicated a lot more chaos going behind the scenes. And this individual reported that Assassin's Creed Shadows had only about 7% of the pre-ordered numbers of Valhalla during the same time period. With all the controversy, and also the fact that many other developers like Sucker Punch Productions have already done feudal Japan much better than Ubisoft probably ever will and could do, it's not exactly surprising seeing this game not having, massive interest. And based on how poorly, Star Wars Outlaws has done, this just isn't that surprising. And I actually do think that there's probably a lot of accuracy behind this. There was also another report coming from a YouTuber in which they talked about how developers revealed that the company would brush off legitimate criticism as toxic gamer talk. They talked about that toxic positivity, one of those aspects that severely damaged Concord during its game development, and it seems to be something that is widespread throughout this industry, in which many voices are being silenced because of the fact that, again, there's just been a movement to make everything, super progressive, super inclusive, but at the same time, many of these developers, many of these companies aren't actually thinking about gamer interest. And if you actually bring up topics like, hey, maybe this inclusive design isn't going to hit with players, it's just immediately shut down as, toxic gamer talk. And this is the toxic positivity that a lot of these companies are run with, especially when you have an echo chamber of many individuals all aligning with the same political perspectives. And if anybody goes against that perspective, well, they get shunned. But there was one specific rumor that came from a YouTuber, Endymion, which actually got shut down by another notable insider, and it was the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows originally featured a male Japanese main character, and the game could be delayed even further. They even talked about the possibility that Yasuke could be changed. And Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, he is one of the notable people in this industry that we know for a fact. He has many sources at Ubisoft. He came out saying that this was not true. He didn't go into specifics about it, but he responded to a Twitter account which said, originally Yasuke was a Japanese man. The riots that happened in 2020 happened, and Ubisoft decided to change the main character to a black guy. A lot of insiders have come forward, and Tom Henderson again shut this down, saying it wasn't true. But we do know that one former Ubisoft developer came forward a long time ago mentioning that he had outlined a story for Assassin's Creed Shadows, or a feudal Japan before I guess Shadow existed, that did involve a Japanese man, and I guess Ubisoft just wasn't interested in that. Not exactly sure if that was what Endymion was referring to, but yes, there was definitely for sure drafts of a Japanese man in feudal Japan within the Assassin's Creed setting, but Ubisoft wasn't interested in that at the time, and I think this predates Shadows even being in development. And I believe that's around the time in which we actually had Ubisoft developers coming forward saying that they didn't even want to make a feudal Japan Assassin's Creed game because they found the setting boring. But Tom Henderson did give further context around the recent delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows to 2024. He specifically talked about Yasuke, but first he said, so why was the game delayed? It boils down to a strict development timeline, polishing and addressing the Japanese community's cultural and historical accuracy concerns. A lot of it's not just involving Yasuke. I brought this up many times. It's architecture and just a lot of issues throughout that even had politicians going after Ubisoft. So it isn't just Yasuke. Ubisoft really lacked on this area, and they've been rightfully called out for it, in my opinion. And Henderson reports, but first let me address some of the wild rumors about Yasuke. He's not going to be removed from the game. However, sources have said that the team has been actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns which started before the game's reveal, following external playtests, and were accelerated further following the game's initial reveal and mass feedback, which is probably that mass disliking that they had with the debut trailer. This includes changing, so they are indeed changing, some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring that the game is historically grounded while fitting into the Assassin's Creed universe. I would imagine that there was probably some scenes within Assassin's Creed Shadows which are very goofy, very out of touch, and Ubisoft realized that after all this outrage, they can't have this being the talk when this game does in fact launch maybe in, February 2025. Henderson does say, as for how the issues fell through the cracks, I'm told that historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual, although I thought those historical experts were right there when they were designing Yasuke. Maybe not exactly sure here, but Henderson does say, and that communication between teams and cutting corners when it came to the approval process of assets to meet deadlines were also at play. So yeah, historical experts not brought in soon enough apparently. And then he did say that 7 developers working the project said that they had even been pushing for a delay for some time, and their situation had even been heard at other studios in the company. They waited until the very last moment because they finally got all the information in for Star Wars Outlaws and realized it did as bad as it could do for the company, and now they are in true crisis mode. They realize this game cannot be another 70 out of 100 on OpenCritic, Metacritic, and they also have all the controversy and outrage hitting this game, so they're extremely worried. That's why they pushed this game away into 2025, and And right now, that February month is looking stacked. I just don't see right now how this game is going to be a massive success, especially on the levels that we saw previously with games like Valhalla and Odyssey. And say what you will, but right now there's very valid questions about if Ubisoft will delay this game further. And Assassin's Creed Shadow has been hit by some other criticism and outrage because it can't stop with this game. Assassin's Creed Shadow statue pulled over insensitive design. Yes, we talked about this in a recent video, but if you look at the image on the screen, as described by Polygon, the statue's broken torii gate was strongly criticized by some Japanese commentators who said that the design hewed too closely to the Sano Shrine in Nagasaki, which was half destroyed by the United States' atomic bombing of the city in 1945. Yes, I have no idea how this fell through the cracks, but just more negativity and criticism that Ubisoft cannot afford with a game that's already been mired in so much controversy. And even the company that was behind this design, they came out with a statement admitting, yeah, we recently released an insensitive design. We appreciate and have learned from the concerns brought to our attention, and we apologize for the harm this caused. Just true madness surrounding Shadows. But with Star Wars Outlaws, as I reported, as I've talked about before, it only sold 1 million copies in 1 month. Ubisoft said it was softer than expected, which is an understatement to say at the very least. And the company has been trying to get players to return. They've been making improvements, but it doesn't seem to be working. And this is just another game that's on their long list of failures the last couple of years. That's why I said at the beginning, all of these developers going on strike, probably the worst timing you could possibly do any of this, because this company is quite close to falling apart, in which there would probably be widespread layoffs and many studios being shut down. But we did see Ubisoft being hit by a lawsuit. Again, the hits keep on coming. As this article by VGC says, Ubisoft is being sued for allegedly sharing Ubisoft Store and Ubisoft Plus user data with Meta. Yes, Ubisoft stealing our data, selling it off to the highest bidder. Love how this industry, love how the tech landscape is about stuff like this. But VGC notes that, as reported by Bloomberg Law, the class action complaint accuses the Assassin's Creed publisher of sharing personally identifiable information with Facebook company Meta. According to the complaint, players who use the Ubisoft website to buy a game on the Ubisoft Store or use it to subscribe to use Ubisoft Plus are having their information sent to Meta through its Pixel user tracking software. And data collections and stuff like this, it really is unacceptable how many companies abuse this stuff, and they just don't care. And Ubisoft is yet another example of this, a company that just loves to piss off players in so many different ways, not just in regards to its games, but also the actions that they make on a corporate level. Defendant does not disclose on the website that this personal information would be captured by the Meta platforms, tracking Pixel utilized by the defendant and then transferred to Meta, thereby exposing the subscriber's information to any person of ordinary technical skill who received that data that the complaint reads. Data sharing policies for a service or subscription is an important factor for individuals deciding whether to provide personal information to that service. And the complaint claims that this practice is a violation of the Video Privacy Protection Act, which was originally introduced in 1988 to prevent video rental stores from sharing a member's information because it could specifically tie the identity of an individual to their purchase history. And then obviously over the years that has been changed for this new modern age. But the complaint against Ubisoft alleges that because Ubisoft doesn't tell players it's sharing their information with Meta, it's therefore violating the Video Privacy Protection Act among others. Defendant purposely implemented and utilized the Pixel, which tracks user activity on the website and discloses that information to Facebook to gather valuable marketing data, it claims. The Pixel cannot be placed on a website without steps taken directly by defendant or on behalf of defendant, example by a website manager. The Pixel cannot be placed on the website by Facebook without the knowledge and cooperation of defendant. Defendant does not seek and has not obtained consent for this information from users to utilize this tracking and share an exchange of this information with Facebook. And the lawsuit has currently not received class action, certification, or actually a response by Ubisoft, but the plaintiffs are seeking a trial by jury and want financial compensation for everyone affected, as well as a court order instructing Ubisoft to either remove the Pixel from its website or get consent from its users before it shares this information. Which information security, just one of those things I don't think people or companies at all take serious, and this is an example of it. And I do actually Would love to see how this case plays out, because if Ubisoft, if this is true and this is in fact that they stole our data and sold it off to Meta, it's truly disgusting, but not surprising from this industry and really the tech landscape. Now, another Ubisoft experience that has been mired in trouble and controversy this year, it was supposed to be the big Call of Duty competitor, XDefiant. There has now been rumors that this could be being shut down by Ubisoft after Season 4, and this comes just after a couple months ago in which Tom Henderson had reported from its inside sources that XDefiant is on borrowed time as player numbers decline rapidly, something that Ubisoft staff are acknowledging behind the scenes. And then just about a month or so ago, during Ubisoft's investor call, they pretty much acknowledged this as a truth. They said that XDefiant has fallen behind expectations, which that specific remark seems like something that Ubisoft is saying with almost all of their releases as of late. But we did see XDefiant's executive producer Mark Rubin, who works at Ubisoft's San Francisco development studio, responding to those rumors, and he pretty much denied, saying that no, we're not shutting this down after Season 4, there's no plans of it, but Ubisoft might have very different plans. Just because an executive producer feels this way, corporate may have another, especially with how this company is falling apart right now. But Rubin, who was an executive producer on Call of Duty before making the switch to Ubisoft, admitted player numbers are indeed down. This, Rubin said, was because Ubisoft has done very little marketing. Yeah, that's why. You launched in, a couple of months ago, probably the perfect timing, and it has fallen with a massive Call of Duty release coming in the coming day, which might just be a kill shot at XDefiant and truly end this live service in the coming weeks and months, as I'm sure player numbers are going to fall a lot further down. Call of Duty sells no matter what, people. We all need to accept it. But he says that they did very little marketing as it works to improve the game. Once XDefiant is in a better place, which maybe he's assuming that in the springtime, once people are kind of over Black Ops 6, maybe that's when they're going to do that. He says that's when the marketing will begin again. To be crystal clear, there are no plans to shut down after Season 4. I've literally been in meetings as of last week to discuss our Year 2 plans, but right now we are super focused on improving the technical experience, which includes netcode and adding more content for Season 3 and 4. We have done very little marketing, so yes, our numbers are down, but this is just to give the team the time to get the game in a better place before we do bigger spends on marketing, to bring new players to the game, and to bring back players that have left. And there's no indication that any players will be interested to come back to this live service. It's one of those reasons why first impressions matter so much, and I feel like XDefiant would have to do some really crazy things to bring people back in, especially with, a game like Black Ops 6 just approaching, and then next year you have other competitors like Battlefield coming back onto the scene. So I don't know, we'll see what happens, but right now it feels like XDefiant and all the chaos that's been surrounding that live service could be leading to an end, whether that's with the end of Season 4 or later. We'll see what happens. But if there is one way I can end this video, it is with some decent news, I guess, with Ubisoft. There's not much surrounding this company, but again, Insider Gaming from their own sources have some new details on the Splinter Cell remake. There had been some rumors going around that this game's development had been shut down or canceled, but fortunately, Insider Gaming is reporting that that's not the case. The Splinter Cell remake is making progress at Ubisoft despite rumors that the game has been quietly canceled. Insider Gaming has learned that the game is being developed under the codename North. In addition to the codename, sources have confirmed that the game is being built in the Snowdrop engine, and previous Splinter Cell games used Unreal Engine 2 and 2.5, and they go on to mention that this was first announced in December of 2021, so many years ago. The Splinter Cell remake is being led by Ubisoft Toronto. When it was first revealed, the game's producer, Matt West, said that it was in the very earliest stages of development. He added the game was being built from the ground up with updates to the game's visuals, while saying that the game would remain linear, although we'll see how much Ubisoft changes this, because I think that there's been some reporting that they were trying to make this for a modern audience, and whenever I hear that, I get nervous. I do, and especially with a company like Ubisoft. As we're building it from the ground up, we're going to update it visually, as well as some of the design elements to match player comfort and expectations, and we're going to keep it linear like the original games, not make it open world. Wes said at the time, the gameplay experience we are targeting is directly tied to what we want players to feel, to capture the essence back when we were all playing the original games. Sources have suggested that a release date could come in 2026, but didn't want to be held to that time frame. And look, Ubisoft is in dire need of some success, and 2026 for the Splinter Cell remake just feels too little, too late. We'll see what happens, because this company could change a lot in the next coming months, especially if Tencent does get their wish and they end up having controlling interest of Ubisoft, which feels like it is a potential avenue that ends up happening, but the Guillemot family may still be in charge, so it's really unclear what Ubisoft's future right now is, but all I see is a landscape of constant chaos, and I feel like things are only going to get worse with this company. But hey, I guess the one good news is that the Splinter Cell remake is still in development. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a Beyond Good and Evil 2 type situation, because I really do want to see more Splinter Cell games, but I don't know if this current Ubisoft can be trusted to make this work in this current age. Anyway, what is your take on Ubisoft here in 2024? What do you think is going to happen to this company? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. But thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.